Timing is super important. If you are in a relationship, if you time the proposal wrong and they decide they do not want to get married to you, that could be bad news. If you show up this Monday and you have a job that you need to report to, maybe some of you, your boss doesn't care, but for many of you, if you show up late, timing is going to be really important. For instance, some of the things that have been happening recently in the last few weeks, if you ask the fantastic basketball players of UNC if timing is important, they would say, yeah, some of you guys are still a little bitter. I get it. They would say that, you know what, it's super important because I believe it's Chris Jenkins, as they tied it up, and go on YouTube and watch the UNC video of all of the UNC students and fans. They are back home, and they're watching it, and then it gets tied up, and they're going nuts, and they rush the floor, and they're watching on the big screen, and they tie it up. They know we're going to go into overtime. We're going to win this. It's going to be awesome, and we only have a few seconds left, and then they get passed into Chris Jenkins, and then Chris Jenkins goes up. 3 points, done. All dreams shattered. UNC's done. Villanova wins. Timing is important. Or you could ask this family here, baby Pavlik, if timing is important. You see, they thought that they only had a few more weeks before the baby would arrive, and that evening, the wife asked the husband, because it was in the news, hey, don't you think that we should make sure that the van is filled up? No, we still got a few weeks. We're good. In the middle of the night, the baby had other plans, and the van was on empty, and so they had to drive to the nearest gas station on the way to the hospital. They never made it to the hospital. They had the baby in the parking lot of the gas station. Timing is important. Or, and before the video starts playing, I want you to watch the upper left-hand corner and tell me if timing is important. There's no sound, but watch this intersection. Just wait for it. Timing is important. You see there in the upper part of Seattle, they don't have stop signs at a lot of intersections, and they just tell you to yield to the right. I would say you need to put in some stop signs. I would say that cyclists would think you need to put in some stop signs for sure. Or you could ask my daughter Roxy about timing. You see, when she was dancing around when she was younger, they were running around the High School Musical in the living room during spring break. And my wife had only been gone for 10 minutes after she had been with them the entire spring break. And of course, she gets injured in the 10 minutes that I'm with her. And she hits her head on an ottoman. And then my daughter begins to scream, "Daddy, is she dying?" As she watched her sister, because it was like the movie Carrie and blood's everywhere. And she is sitting there, and now you can see that later on during the day, she was fine. She got a snack, and Barbie and everybody has joined her. But she got multiple stitches. And my other oldest daughter kept crying, "Daddy, I will do whatever you say. Please don't make me get stitches." So we still use that today because we're good parents. But if you ask Roxy if timing matters, she would say yeah, even though she enjoys her Harry Potter scar because it's in a Z shape. She tells everybody that. So she's one of the chosen ones. We're sending her to Hogwarts in a few years. Timing matters. Bet you if you ask any of these people, maybe if it's UNC, if timing matters, they would say, absolutely, timing matters. I bet you that the Pavlik family makes sure that every time they go to bed, there's a full tank of gas. Roxy, even now, still has fear in certain aspects when she gets off balance. Even though she will jump and run and climb, there are moments where you see the look in her eye. I remember the ottoman. And I'm willing to bet the cyclist up there in Seattle slows down at every single intersection that he goes on. You see, timing matters. Timing is super important. And when you and I are engaging this journey of life, we're all on it. Whether we want to be on it or not, we're on it. And we are breathing in and out, and we are on this. And what are we doing with the journey? Especially when it comes to timing in life, when it comes with our family, with our jobs, if you have kids, with your kids, in your friendships, in your relationships, and then to keep on top of that with God, with faith, with this community of believers as we try to navigate this together. Some of us holding strong to faith. Some of us not even sure what we believe in yet. And we hit moments where we fail, when things don't seem to work out. And we've been talking about this guy, Isaiah. We started this series last week, Here Am I, Send Me. And Isaiah kind of wanted to give up on life. And I don't know where you're at, but chances are that some of you guys in this room just kind of want to give up. You want to, just cash your chips in and move on because you can't handle the pressure and you don't know what else to do. And Isaiah was feeling that. He was trying to follow God, but he didn't feel like he had everything together, and he was about to cash everything in. And God, as we talked about last week, and you can listen on the podcast and on the website, he kind of gave him this dream. He's like, I want to reaffirm the fact that I love you, that I care about you, that I want to be with you, and you've got this. And Isaiah ended up answering to God, all right, I'll try. Here I am, God. Here am I, send me. But he was fearful. And I wonder if he was tempted to listen to the voices, and you and I listen to him too. You can't do it. Maybe even now, especially with the age of social networking, where you post something or things get hard, and some people will affirm what's going on. Other people will criticize. Even in circles, people, unfortunately, might talk behind your back. And so you have the heap of not only moments of failure and moments where you just feel like you're locked in, but then on top of that, you have the critics that lock you into place. And you wonder, God, how can I ever trust in your timing when I don't feel like I can even move in this existence? Love the author, Brené Brown. She's a fantastic writer. She's also a professor, and our staff has gotten the chance to see her speak. And she wrote this book called Rising Strong, and I would highly recommend it. She has a bit of a potty mouth, and so I had to edit this quote a little bit. But she says, a lot of cheap seats in the arena are filled with people who never venture onto the floor. They just hurl mean-spirited criticisms and put-downs from a safe distance. The problem is, when we stop caring about what people think and stop feeling hurt by cruelty, we lose our ability to connect. But when we're defined by what people think, we lose the courage to be vulnerable. Therefore, we need to be selective in the feedback that we let into our lives. For me, if you're not in the arena getting your butt kicked, she used a different term, I'm not interested in your feedback. You see, there's voices that tell you to not trust God's timing and to not walk this journey out. There's other voices that will cheer you on, and you might have criticism. Now, I'm not saying cut out anybody who disagrees with you. If you do that, you'll be surrounded by a bunch of robots that tell you what you want to feel and pat you on the back, and that's not healthy, because for all of us, we do need a voice that says, I love you, but that was dumb. And most of us go, yeah, I need that. And some of you are like, I don't need that. Yeah, you do. We all do. But we fail, and we hurt, and we have these moments, and what do we do when we're locked in fear and we go, I want to trust God's timing, but I need to be able to sift through all of the noise and all the stuff. And Isaiah was feeling this. He was feeling like he was committing to things, but things just won't work out, and he didn't know what to do. And then God reaffirms his call. And as God reaffirms his call, he starts to ask God about the timing of things. If you have a Bible, I want you to turn over. We're going to be back in that passage in Isaiah, Isaiah chapter 6. The Bible's broken up into Old and New Testament. It's in the Old Testament of the Bible. We give Bibles away for free. You can pick one up in the lobby out there at the Get Connected table. You can download a Bible app, or you can download the Forefront Church app, and it has everything that you need. You can take notes there, all the quotes and everything else that'll be here today. You could do that. And the reason we do that is because we want to engage in this journey with you. We don't want this to be something where you sit, because you can come, you can not talk to anybody. The people at the door can say hi, and you could just ignore them, and that's fine. And you can come and be autonomous, hear this, and move on, and not engage your faith throughout the week. And my hope is that we can learn from Isaiah's story, that we can be a community like Tommy talked about that helps one another. That like when Krista in the baptism video in the opening, she says, I don't have to get all my stuff together and then follow God. That I want to follow God and engage this, and then God can put me together. We just seem to get it backwards far too often. And learn from the story that Isaiah says in Isaiah chapter 6 about what does he do after, and I want to paint the picture before we jump in, because Isaiah has said, all right, God, I'm going to follow you. And then after that, in those verses, he says, well, here's the people that I'm going to send you to. They're stubborn. Now, I know nobody else in this room is stubborn but me, all right? You're all perfect. You all listen. You take every bit of criticism. You do everything people say. right? No, we're stubborn. We like our way, the way we want it. That's why things like Burger can say, have it your way. That's why we love, if you go to a buffet, I can do whatever I want. That's why we don't like listening to rules. None of us really, some of you are rule abiders, but most of us don't like rules. We don't listen. We want to be our own boss. We don't like to listen to people. And so even in the midst of that, we go, I just want to do my own thing. And so Isaiah's saying, all right, I'm going to follow you. And he says, I'm going to send you to stubborn people. I've told them my ways. They don't want to do it. They know everything that they need to know about me and my love and my grace, and they just choose to do the opposite, and I'm going to send you to them. Nobody's going to sign up for that job. If you went to a job interview and say, hey, so you're going to be, what we're going to do is you're going to go in this department, and no one wants to hear your voice. But you're going to lead them, and they're not going to listen to you. And actually, they're already hating you right now. They don't even know you, but they hate you. And so I'm going to send you there, and they're stubborn, and they're not going to listen, and that your job is going to be to tell them stuff that they're not going to listen to, okay? Nobody's going to go, that sounds awesome. I'm totally going to sign up for that job. Where do I need to fill out my paperwork? No, and so Isaiah is given this, and I love Isaiah's response because it is so human. It's not like, and what I love about the narrative of God's story is in Isaiah chapter 6, and we'll pick up in verse 11 here in a moment, is Isaiah doesn't give this, he doesn't say, God, here am I, send me, and then it's just like blindly following. We see a bit of Isaiah's humanity, that he was a little bit like, God, what's your timing again? And here's where it picks up in verse 11 of Isaiah chapter 6. So then I said, after he told me about the people that hate me, that don't want me to be there, that don't want to listen to you, for how long, Lord? He's kind of like, if Isaiah was totally in, 100% in, he never would have asked how long. He just been like, all right, God, I'm going. I'm jumping in. I'm doing it. But it gives that rundown of the job description, and he goes, do you know what you're talking about, God? Like, how long am I going to have to do this? And this is God's response. And let me brace you. It doesn't sound fun either. It said, and he answered, until the cities lie ruined and without inhabitant, until the houses are left deserted and the fields are ruined and ravaged. This sounds super fun. Until the Lord has sent everyone far away and the land is utterly forsaken, and a tenth that remains in the land, it will be laid waste. But as the terebinth and the oak leaves stump where they are cut down, so the holy seed will be at the stump in the land. What I'm hearing from God is, you're going to be there a while. Now, and so if I'm Isaiah, I'm going, all right, God, I felt like I was just overwhelmed, like I couldn't do it, but you've reaffirmed me, you've said that you love me, and so I'm going to follow you, and then you tell me you're going to do something that just sounds super hard, and so I'm like, okay, but how long? And then you painted this picture. God, I don't know. God, I don't know. If I were Isaiah, if I were in his shoes at that moment, I'd go, God, are you sure about your timing and all this? Because that sounds kind of scary. And I don't know if I want to go there yet. I don't know if I'm ready to do that yet. And for the short time that we have together, I want to pray for us that we're ready to hear what God's timing is for you and I. Because I'm willing to bet that for some of us, we are scared to death of God's timing. Why don't you pray with me? God, I thank you for today, and I thank you for Isaiah's story that kind of paves the way for us to understand what it means to follow you in your timing and not ours. And for some of us, we may have prayed prayers to you or asked you things and tried to convince you of our timeline because we're super smart. And we said, God, here's the plan. Can you just make it happen? God, will you help us backtrack to the place that we started thinking like you were some sort of genie where we rubbed the lamp and you just gave us things? And begin to teach us what it means to trust your timing and not ours. God, we love you, and it's through Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I absolutely love being outdoors. I'm glad that we moved the picnic to a new day because I would not want to, I love you guys, but I'm not hanging out with you in the cold. It's just not happening. If you invite me out to some place that's cold, it better be to snowboard or to go in a cabin, and that's it. Because it's just, if it's cold, I'm not having it. I need sand, sun, and waves. And so I love being outdoors and stuff, but one of the things that I loved as a high schooler and growing up And even today, only not, as much because I'm older, and when I fall, things just stay broken and hurt, is I love skateboarding. And there was one time in particular on Christmas Day where you could go down and you could skateboard in downtown Norfolk. This look familiar to any of you guys? Have you been down there? You come in off the highway and you could see these not too far from Waterside or whatever the heck they're going to be doing with it now. Who knows? And on Christmas Day was the only day that you could go down and skateboard and not get a ticket. And because all the police were doing other things, and so if you went down any other time, I can tell you from experience as I got older that you will get ticketed if you go down there and skateboard, because they don't want you down there at all. It's somebody goes, yeah, skateboarders ruining property, whatever. Yeah, all right. And so I get it. We were having fun. We were kids, and now we're adults, and we do it anyways. And so we were down there and doing that. And Christmas Day, we would go down and we would load up in cars and drive down there, and we'd see kids from other high schools and things. We would go down there and skate. And this set in particular is where everybody would kind of meet up. And the goal every Christmas, because we could only skate it on Christmas Day, is that somebody would say, like, here's the tricks that you're going to do. And you would ride, because there's flat ground, like, back past this way. And you would do a trick down this set, ride, a trick down this set. And so it'd be like, here's the two tricks. Whoever lands it first. You would, like, go down in infamy with everybody else. Like, you're the one. Nobody else landed first. And so, like, it was the goal of everybody that showed up. And there would be dozens of us out there trying to land whatever the run would be. And so the tricks would be on this one, and I'm going to explain it in layman's terms to help you out, is that you would ride forward and you would skate up, and you would make the board flip over and turn 180 with the board. So the board would not only turn this way, but also go. So now you'd be riding backwards, and then you would do the same thing where you would make the board flip and turn with your body, and then start moving forwards down the second set. And so when the guy said what the tricks were, I was like, oh, I could do those tricks. I'm totally going to do this. My name's going down forever. I was super pumped. And so everybody's going. And so they're nice and wide. And so you'd have guys trying it on this side, guys trying it on this side. People are falling. Boards are going everywhere. People are shouting when people would land like the first time, like, yeah. And it's traditionally done when you're watching a bunch of guys skateboarding. They'll like start banging their boards on the ground, causing a ruckus, because that's what guys do. And so we doing it, and you do it. And I was trying it, and I kept landing the first one. I was like, I'm going to do this. My name's going down in history. And I do it, but you can see the cracks that they've done, and there's metal across the front edges of these steps. I hit one of the cracks as I was riding backwards about in here before I ever got to the edge on one of them, and I just remember going, I'm going to die. And I hit, and I just went down every single step, and I felt it hitting my ribs all along the way. And I was like, that's it, I'm going to meet Jesus right now. I'm done. And you know when it's bad because everybody's like, ooh, and it gets real quiet. And then there's always the one guy who's filming all of this as we're doing this as teenagers, and he's just like riding by and just holds it. Not helping, just filming. Like, I'll take that camera and beat you with it. And so, I remember getting up, and everybody's like, all right, so they clap because you're up, and they're like, yeah, we don't have to call an ambulance. And climb back up there and do it, and I just wait. And there was this kid named Gabe who he was going after it. He was charging, and he was doing so good, and he was getting close, and he like almost landed, and the board flopped from under him on the second step. I was like, I gotta beat him. But I remember sitting back in the far landing, and I was like, I'm totally gonna fall again. I'm totally gonna and I hurt right now. And that was a high school. I can't imagine now. I just would have gone to the hospital nowadays. I'd just been like, that's it, I'm done. And I watched him, and he landed, and everybody yells his name. And now later on, we stayed for another half hour, and I landed, but it didn't matter. Because everybody knows Gabe was the one that did it. He was the first one. Nobody else remembered who landed at second and third and fifth, and there were a bunch of guys that landed this run. But what buckled me in was the fear that something's going to happen. I'm not going to have the right timing. I'm going to get hurt again. I'm going to fall again. Something bad is going to happen, and I didn't go after it the way that I knew I could. And so often, far too often, God is leading us to places that He is the one powering us, that He is the one moving us through. And yet we stay buckled in fear buckled in what people have said, buckled in our own insecurity, just sitting in the fact that, like, what if I misstep? What if I'm off on my timing? What if I'm unsure and unclear of hearing God? I don't know about you, but I've had a hard time over the years going like, God, I'm trying to understand you, and what are you saying to me? And we keep moving on. We keep just going like, listen, I can't do it because I'm imperfect. I can't do it because I just don't have it together. I can't do it. And we give the litany of excuses about why we can't move in what God has for us, in His timing. And if you don't get anything else today, my prayer, my hope is that you get this. This is our main idea for this week, is that God's timing is perfect for imperfect people to carry His perfect love. I really want that to sink in for you, that God's timing is perfect for imperfect people to carry His perfect love. That you and I don't have to measure up to some celestially amazing standard and have all of our ducks in a row and wear the right thing and say the right things and come across, and I jokingly said it last week, like Ned Flanders and Heidely Ho neighbor, and get all of our stuff in order and sing Kumbaya in our house and all of our little Stepford children and Stepford wife and Stepford home and everything looks for. That is not what God is calling you to. God chose Isaiah, an imperfect guy who was about to give up, to do amazingly awesome things in His name, even though it was scary. And even in that, even in what he knew God had for him, he questioned the timing because he was scared. And for you and I, we might just be going, God, I just don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what to do when it comes to my journey with you. I don't know what it means in my next step. I meet people who have been at this a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, following God, and they go, I just don't know what to do. God's timing is absolutely perfect. But what is He calling us to do? He's calling us to move with Him, to move in the direction that He has for us. And how do we hear that? And what's the application of that for you and I? Well, the first one, there's just a few things. The first one in moving with God means believing the best. I wrote down this passage. It won't be on the screen. It says, believing the best as we do this, to be still. It's in Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. I know that most of us don't sit still very often. You definitely don't sit still if you have kids, and if you're sitting still, you're sleeping, or you're praying that they'll move out because they're old enough to. And so we just get tired, and then our schedules get busy, and things get hard, and it's just difficult. And so as we move through and we listen to God's time, and we're trying to hear from Him, which is always difficult to hear from God until you start connecting with Him. I said it this way in the previous services, that like I knew what my wife, when we were dating, what she wanted and what her dreams were and what happened. Why? Because I spent time with her, because I listened to her, because I sat down and I made the time because I cared and it mattered. And I hear people say, like, I don't hear from God. And I say, well, when's the last time you read your Bible? I'll be like, I don't even know a Bible. Like, when's the last time you prayed? Like, I prayed one time, like the policeman pulled me over, and I prayed for every meal. Like, I prayed for those. I was like thankful that I had some food and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, when's the last time like you connected with somebody and served them? They're like, well, I don't have a time. I'm really busy. And this connection is so big that believing the best, that God's timing is truly happening, and trusting that His timing is going to be the best, and just hearing Him. You know, it's fascinating that a Pew Research poll, pewresearch.org, they polled in 2014 was the last like big poll that they were able to publish, that 89% of people in the United States believe in God and trust in His timing. 89%. That's almost 9 out of 10 people say that they have a belief in God and trust that God's timing is going to happen the way that He chooses. That is huge. And oftentimes we sit there and we go, God, I just don't know about your timing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I can trust you. I'm having a hard time hearing you. My hope is that we would believe the best about God, that we believe the best about His intentions and what He has for us, so we could sit in a moment and go, God, I'm going to be still. And I'm going to believe that you are guiding this, and that I need to step back and trust that you have the best of intentions for my life. Part of moving in this, and moving with God, means belonging to the bunch. I was going to put church, but I needed another B. And so belonging to, in this, and not a building, not Tommy mentioned this, that's not something we come to. The church is something that we are a part of. that we would believe that God has something in store, and we would come together and say, I want to belong to something. One of that same research poll showed that in 2014, people that engaged their faith engaged church 3 out of 4 weeks. So 3/4 of the time they were engaging their faith through small groups, through serving, etc. The raw data that's coming in for 2015 and 2016 shows that people go roughly, on average, once a month, which means that only 12 times a year, on average, usually less, people are engaging their faith, which is fascinating to me because the way that we function and what we do, we do this better when we're together. When we share with one another, when we open up about our lives, which if you're introverted right now, you're like, no, I'm nothing. We're not going to march you guys up here and go, hey, so share about your life. You're like, that's not what we're going to do. But that we would sit together and that we would have a life exchange, because we do know, and it's proven outside of faith, that when people share their life with other people, they begin to change. And we are better together. I love this passage that in Galatians 6:9 says, do not become weary of doing good. Do not give up. Part of not being able to give up, and Isaiah needed this, is having people with you. I wrote down some of the things that I watched in just this week alone, between staff and leaders and volunteers and small groups, people coming alongside people who have dying relatives, people coming along other people who are sick, people getting counseling either here or other places with broken family issues, people helping other friends move, and whether it's in town or moving from out of town here, people getting counseling. We've watched people's lives like Krista and Sean and Megan in the video earlier, and it continues to happen in other people's lives where they're saying yes to God and getting baptized in a weird horse trough, because it has nothing to do about the location or what it is, but about what God does in setting us free. And God continues to move in people's lives, and we are better when we are together. We're watching missions teams that are going to Mexico, or they're going down to Miami. We're watching our students are getting ready to collect skinny jeans for homeless kids, because that's the number one requested thing. And we worked through a group called Aid Now that got started out of Forefront. It says, hey, listen, back in August, we want kids who are homeless to not go back feeling like they're marginalized. We want them to look just like the rest of their friends. And so they're going to be collecting those, and they think they can get my beard shaved if they collect enough, but they're wrong. My wife just cheered. She's going to single-handedly buy all of them. Moving with God also means being brave. Now, I'm not talking about being brave like you mounted up the courage to overcome whatever social anxiety you have and work in the parking lot to help people. Or you worked up the courage and being brave to stand and welcome people at the door and say hello. Or stand really get brave and stand at a table and answer questions for people. Or get mega brave and you went back into where the kids are worshiping. And they're awesome. And those volunteers are amazing. But sometimes it turns into Lord of the Flies. And you got brave and went back there. I'm not talking about that kind of brave. I'm not talking about being mega, ultra, super intense brave and coming out in the evenings where we have our middle school and high schoolers transform this building, and it's bonkers and it smells like Axe body spray and it's just crazy. I'm not talking about that kind of brave. But that's true. It does what it smells like. I'm talking about being brave when things get hard and everything's fallen out and it's hit the fan, and you're wondering if God's timing is true, and you still stand up and you go, I believe that God has a plan for me, even in the middle of this hurt. So Pastor Matt Chandler, he put it this way about being brave, and that shares it this way. It says, when you blow it, God still celebrates his son, Jesus, in you. The litmus test of whether or not you understand the gospel, well, that's just a big fancy way of saying the good news that Jesus came, he died so that you and I could be free, because we don't want to pay that on our own. He did it for us. The reason whether or not you understand this is what we do when we fail. When we mess up, when we fall down. Do you run from him and go clean yourself up a little bit before you come back to him and his throne room, his kingdom? Or do you approach his throne of grace with confidence? If you don't approach God, his grace, with confidence, you don't understand the gospel or good news. It's that God has you, and that being brave is not standing up going, I can do this on my own. I don't need God. I can manage my family and my job and my kids, and even though I'm hurt, I'm going to limp along on my own. Being brave means grabbing onto the life raft that God sent through Jesus and saying, I'm being brave, and saying, I can't do it alone because I need His love and His compassion and His grace. That is strength. And that is being brave. Not standing going, I can do this on my own, because I can promise you, you will fall. And you will get hurt. And when you don't have Jesus, you will have no one. Because God's timing is absolutely perfect. We were doing a family photo shoot a few years back. It really taught me about what it meant to trust in God's timing. We were out in Norfolk because we're thug life, and no, I'm just kidding. And we live at the beach, but we wanted to go there because they had artsy things, and that's what you do. So we went there. We parked the car, and there was a homeless guy that walked by and just asked for money. And so naturally, and I don't know where you're at, like my thought process back then was like, oh, he's going to spend it on this and this and that, and I'm not going to do it. But then we were with a photographer, and I didn't know if she knew Jesus, but I did know that she knew I was a pastor. And so I was like, well, I got to do that, because pastor not going to give the homeless guy money. He's a real jerk. And so again, I'm just being real. That's where I was at. And I'm human too, and I make mistakes. So I gave him a few bucks, and he went on his way. And so we went and did the family photo shoot, and we're doing our thing, and we're running around, and we're standing on train tracks, because that's what we saw other people do before Pinterest was ever there. And so we're doing everything. We're hanging out by broken down buildings, and we're making our way around, and we see the guy. He's about 50 yards away as we're getting ready to get into the car, and he sets down this balloon and has a half thing full of peanuts, and he's doing it. And all he said back, we didn't have a long conversation at all. He just kind of yells back, it's her birthday. Make sure nobody takes this. God's timing is pretty interesting. So here I am walking up, handing him money, thinking, just same old, but I'll do it because I want to make sure this lady thinks I love Jesus. And I did, but, we all have our stuff. We walk back, and this guy has done this for somebody else. And in that split second, that moment, I was like, wow, God, thanks for kicking me in the tail when I needed to be kicked. We get in the van, and we load everybody up. We start driving home, and I do what any guy does. I act like I'm messing with my glasses, and I got something in my eye. And I silently pray to God, and I didn't share, with my wife or anybody else, but God, I'm real sorry that I don't trust your timing. Because you bring gifts that are absolutely amazing. And sometimes I think that I know better than you do, and I needed to know that I am dumb and you are good. And you bring perfect gifts right on time. And I need to trust you more with your timing, because, man, I get it wrong so much. And God used a princess balloon from a homeless man to another homeless woman to teach me that God's timing is the one that is best. And for some of us, we need a wake-up call. We need a revelation. We need to be shook out or wherever we're at, because we believe that we can't do it, that we're fearful. We make excuses, or we'll make excuses for some other person about why that can't happen and why that can't be done. And we put limitations on God, and we put God in a box. And God is the one saying that His time is perfect for imperfect people to carry His perfect love to anybody and everybody who needs it. Not based on political preference, not based on whether they're skinny or not skinny, or tall or short, or colored one color or the other color, or have affinity here or there, that every single person is deserving of God's love, and He is going to use imperfect people to do it who think that His timing is not right, and He says, yes, it is, and I'm going to send you to people, and I need to start with your life, and you and I need to trust in His timing. It starts by surrendering to Him and saying, all right, God, I don't have it together, but I know that you do, and I'm sorry that I'm stubborn, even though I'm the only one that's stubborn. I know you guys aren't. God, I'm stubborn, and I'm sorry, and I need to trust you, and I need to follow you, and I need to do what those other people did in the video, and I need to surrender my life to you and be baptized. And maybe you've already been baptized, but you're super stubborn because you've been following him a while, and you think that everything's fine and that you're doing everything that you need to do, and God needs to come and needs to kick you in the tail with a balloon from a homeless man to say you have no idea about God's timing. So you and I have a choice. Keep running the way we always have, doing our own thing, because we feel like we're masters of that schedule, and we keep running in circles. Or say, all right, God, I'm going to listen. I'm hearing you loud and clear. Your timing is better than mine. I know I'm imperfect, but that's why you're perfect for me. And carry his love to the ends of the earth. Would you pray with me?